Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome inside Garage Door Sports, your no-holds-barred weekly discussion on everything in the sporting world. For all your news on hockey, baseball, basketball, football, soccer, and more, you've come to the right place. And now it's time for your hosts, Nick McVicker, Kyle Vardy, and Irfan Manji. Another week, another episode. Back in studio, Nick McVicker, joined through the Garage Door Sports Cup phone by my two great co-hosts, Kyle Vardy and Irfan Manji. Kyle, how are you doing today?
It's a great day. I got a tea time in a couple hours, so I'm excited.
Look at you getting out to golf. Irfan, how are you doing, man?
Good. Like I said, I always look forward to our show. I'm super busy during the week with my article writing, but excited to be here today.
It's awesome, man. I'm glad to have you both on. It's always better when all three of us are here. And this week, we have two very, very special guests, hosts of the Ball Girls podcast, Haley McGoldrick and Jordan Chichelli. Haley, how are you doing today?
Good. How are you, Nick?
Good. A little tired, not going to lie, but it's normal. Well, you work. I don't.
Yeah, I work like 40 hours a week. It's kind of exhausting. That's fine.
And Jordan, how are you doing today?
Pretty good, not gonna lie. Just woke up about 10 minutes ago, so...
It is early. It's fine. That's acceptable at this time in the morning.
on a Saturday?
And on a Saturday. Well, yeah. Well, every day is a Saturday when you don't work, so...
That's true.
Anyways, let's hop into our kickoff segment sponsored by Canada Kicking Academy. Calling all kickers and punters in the Southern Ontario region. If you are looking for year-round professional development with elite competition, you need to train with the Canada Kicking Academy. The Ferraro brothers, Daniel and Gabe, are both University of Guelph alumni, and after illustrious university careers, they want to teach you everything they've learned over the years. If you want to take your special teams game to the next level, you need to train with the Canada Kicking Academy. Visit them at CanadaKickingAcademy.com and follow them on Instagram at Canada Kicking Academy. So today for our kickoff segment, boys, I want to interview these two lovely ladies and talk about their show, their sports history, and some of the stuff that they have to go through on Twitter, because if you follow them, you know it's a lot. And they do a great job of handling it, both of them do. So we want to get into that and try to bring light to a little bit of a, I want to use a good word, but I can't think of it, injustice sort of to what women have to go through in sports. Obviously, we know a lot about that.
That's not a bad word to use for that.
Yeah. So let's get into it, but let's start. We want to get your history in sports, girls. I know you well enough that I know your history, but tell our fans a little bit about how you got to get your love of sport.
I'll let Haley go first.
So I played soccer for 15 years. I started when I was 3. I started playing All-Star when I was 8, and then I played rep for 10 years. And then I also played basketball for 10 years. I started playing basketball in the 4th grade. I played house league for literally 1 year, and then played rep for 9 years. So my dad's big into sports. That's kind of how I got into sports. He was always my coach, which I had a love-hate relationship with, because being the coach's kid is simultaneously the best and the worst. Like, it's hard to explain because I don't regret it now, but at the time I was like, I hate this. I want to quit sports. But yeah, so my dad is from Ohio, so we're huge Ohio State fans. Sorry, Nick.
It's okay. We've had this conversation many times.
But I watched pretty much every sport because my dad watched every sport. And so, like, even golf, things like that, just I grew up in a household where that's what we watched. We didn't watch, The Voice on a Sunday night. We watched sports.
That's fair. Nothing wrong with that. How about you, Jordan?
Yeah, I started playing softball when I was 7. My parents actually met playing softball, so, like, even before then, I was going to their softball games all the time. It's kind of, like, raised on it, like Haley said. I still play, but my season, obviously, has been... It's postponed right now until further notice.
Yeah.
Play select. Yeah. And then I played for Brock's varsity team in my first year of university. And then I played a bit of hockey for 6 years. And yeah.
Nice.
I, same as Haley, kind of just see, I did have The Voice playing on Sunday nights, so I had that for my mom, and then I had sports with my dad. Kind of the same there, basically. But yeah.
Nice. Well, I mean, I know you guys well enough to know that your sports knowledge is probably better than mine, which is hard to say for me. But and both of these guys will admit to it too. So
You say that? Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. That's a great. Yeah. Admit it, Nick.
I did. It hurts, but I admitted it. All right, relax.
Don't make him say it again. He won't be able.
Nope. But you guys recently started a podcast called the Ball Girls Podcast. Now, can you explain why you went into this and how you guys kind of came together about it?
Yeah, I mean, everyone knows Jordan and I like share one brain cell. Like we met in class and we just instantly clicked. Like it was the best thing. I don't know. I don't think I've ever become so close to somebody so fast. So we kind of discussed it and then we were told somebody was like, you guys have really good chemistry. You should start a podcast. And we were kind of like, okay. And then I'll let Jordan talk more about it, but she posted a DM that kind of got the ball rolling on why we started the podcast. But it's her DM, so I'll let her talk about it.
Yeah, no, I don't know why, but in my bio on Instagram, it said like Brock Sport Management and then Centennial Sports Journalism. Some guy slid in my DMs. He's like, "Oh, you like sports? Okay, I'm gonna quiz you." And I was like, "Oh, okay, like, all right." Not the response I was hoping to get, but let's go for it. And he asked me who won the World Series this year, and then he gave like three options. He put the Nationals, and then I don't remember the other two teams he put.
One was Houston.
Oh, he put yes, and then he put LA, just LA. So that was up for interpretation, I guess. And I was like, "Hey," he's like, "You can Google this if you want, blah blah blah." So I put that on Twitter. But there's just I didn't think anything of it because at the time I only had like 200 followers, so I thought it was just gonna be like the guys in the class who like comment on it. So I don't know how it blew up within like 2 days, and it got like 10,000 likes and stuff like that. And like I've had people reach out to me since then, and just like having like other girls reach out and say like, "I've been through this kind of thing," like. I reached out to Haley then and I was like, "Hey, like we need to do this podcast like ASAP right now. Like this is the best time to do it." Like I didn't realize there's that many girls that have to go through it. So kind of just getting to talk about that's been pretty cool.
Yeah. No, and I was watching as that thing blew up, and you and me, I think, talked every day when that happened, and it was just like, wow, how many people reached out to you was incredible. And it's a good time for it, I think. You guys are right. You're taking advantage of something that you should be. You should be talking about sports. It's as easy as that. Boys, do you have any questions? Because I've been talking a lot.
Well, you always talk a lot.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Like to hear your voice. What are you talking about?
See what I have to go through, ladies?
Yeah, you get to see our lovely faces every week. Shut up.
All right. Questions for the girls.
Honestly, but just like listen to the stories. It's I don't really have any questions for it. It's just more I love how fitting it is to actually have a podcast. Now you actually have a medium that you can project your voices on. It's definitely something that was needed, I think. Obviously, you guys you talk sports all the time, right? So now it's just something you're basically just talking sports, and other people have a chance to listen to it. So now it's the perfect way to do that, and I think there's got to be more women that get out there and actually talk about sports because there's tons of women that actually love sports, right? Obviously, there's stereotypes out there, but 2020 is not a time for stereotypes. It's really not. So
No, that's exactly right. Irfan?
No particular question, but getting back on what Kyle said, just supporting. We're gonna do our best to support the two of you. I mean, everyone that you're going to deal with on Twitter can be a dink, and we're sorry that you're going through that. But in reality, we appreciate the way the two of you kind of stuck up to it, and I think it's a start to women in sports, but women allowing them to have a platform to speak. And I know it's a weird way to say this, but again, we're just gonna keep supporting the two of you if we can.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Speaking of Twitter, by the way, both of you have gone through some fun times in the last little bit on Twitter with people attacking you. I don't know if attacking is the right word because it's Twitter. But do you guys want to go into some of the stuff that you've had to go through, or?
I mean,
You want to go first, Daily?
it's more Jordan than like me. Like poor George just gets put through the ringer every day just for like being a girl in sports. I like people try not to come at me too much, probably because A, I don't care, and B, I don't think men realize that girls are meaner to each other than like a guy could ever be. Like girls are so mean. When you grow up as a girl, you have A, very thick skin, and B, like very bad self-esteem because girls are just so mean to other girls. So some troll on the internet telling me A, that I look like his mom, so his mommy issues, that's beyond me. I can't fix that, sorry. But
Gotta wait till Kyle's not drinking before you say stuff like that.
I'm so sorry. But yeah, no, like first of all, the insults they give aren't even not only not even accurate, but like they're not insulting. I was like I'm more concerned that you're telling me I look like your mom trying to insult. Like, that's something you and your mom gotta work out, buddy. Like, I'm sorry. But it's just like, you say anything in sports and guys tell you that you're wrong or this or that or whatever. Or I find too sometimes if you seem to be more knowledgeable than them, then well, sports are your only personality. You don't have any other personality. I'm like, okay, that's fine. That's fair.
Yeah.
Like, it's just you can't win. You kind of have to learn to live with it. You know that you're never really going to get that affirmation like, yeah, you're great. It's either you're going to be insulted or you're just going to be told that you have no other personality. So it is what it is.
Yeah.
I think the guys that are doing that to you are just insecure, if that means anything to you at that level. Like, I mean, for us, when we hear people talk about sports, no matter who it is, it's so great to have that conversation. So I think you're just dealing with insecure, Sigmund Freud-minded idiots.
No,
Sigmund
absolutely.
Freud-minded idiot. Wow.
Yeah, psychology.
I like it. No, honestly, it's just it's. I don't want to say it, but they're overcompensating for something. Let's put it that way. And it's just they're stuck in a time where it's like just men are sports and women are not sports. Like they're just stuck in that time, and it's not true whatsoever.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, like even if you say anything, like I honestly like if I say something and you don't like agree with the opinion I'm tweeting, then like yeah, like that's fine. But like usually if people like you can come back and try to like discuss it with me, but people will always be like, see, this is about like a girl like shouldn't be in sports kind of thing, and it always comes back to that. It's just like, dude, like disrespect. People have different opinions about stuff. Like I don't get it.
Yeah, guys, there's people on Twitter, regardless of what you're talking about, sports, politics, anything. There's some people out there who are just willing to go on there and just say the stupidest shit and try to get into the stupidest arguments. Like, there's really no point to some of the comments that are on Twitter, and that's why I try to stay out of a lot of it just because I'm not willing to start a stupid argument, but sometimes if you put your point across and someone comes at you, you have that conversation, and it just doesn't make sense as to why in sports a lot of it is targeted at women. I don't get it. I've been around women in sports my entire life, playing against female soccer teams, doing whatever we need to do. Had Diana Matheson train with my team for a month or a month and a half. Like, I know how important women in sports are. I know how great women's sports are after watching them at university. I don't get why people still discredit women's sports. It just doesn't make sense to me. And the fact that you guys have to go through it personally, I've said sorry, I think, a number of times in class, and I will continue probably until the last day that we know each other.
You don't apologize because you're somebody who gets it. Like, we understand. It's just it'll never change.
No, and it's sad. But I know Kyle, I know Irfan, you guys are both. We're all three of us are on the women's sports bandwagon. Like, we love watching women's sports when they're on. which they need to be on more.
Yeah.
Oh,
We had that whole debate a couple weeks ago
Yeah.
about it getting on and how we'd love to see it more on TV, and it's got to be somebody's got to step up and actually take charge and say, hey, we're putting this on the air. People are gonna watch it. We're gonna pay the money behind it, and it all comes down to dollars, and that's what it was gonna come down to. But
absolutely.
and honestly, for the most part, women's sports actually ends up being either more competitive or better in general than actual like guys' sports.
Smarter.
Smarter, true.
It's usually
What
smarter.
are you trying to say?
That they play the game
play
smarter.
Smarter.
That we try to go 100 million miles an hour through the wall, and they actually pass the ball around and make smart plays.
I more prefer a lineman jog. I'm not really 100 miles an hour.
That is your 100 miles an hour.
No, I agree. It's one of those. There's got to be one like high-paying, unfortunately to say it, guy who like owns some sort of television or something that's be like, hey, women's sports are great. We're putting this on TV. I don't care what you say. And it's got to take charge because women are going to be fighting this forever.
Oh yeah.
The guys have got to step up as well and support them and help them with their cause. Like it's just how it is.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. It's sad that it's that way, but I agree 100%.
Like it's the same things going on. Like you look at like the Minnesota riots right now, right? It's like injustice on one side or the other, and it's just people have to start fighting for it. That's all it is.
Yep, absolutely. No, you're 100% right, Kyle, and that's why we get along so well. Is that we think the same way on these kind of things. So, or fun, same thing. Is there anything else that you girls want to tell our listeners about yourselves or about the fun stuff that you go through all on Twitter all the time?
If you don't have a profile photo on your Twitter account, I don't care what you have to say, and I think a lot of people can also attest to that.
Yeah.
If your photo is of like literally Austin Matthews, no one really gives a crap what your opinion is.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess I gotta change my profile picture then. Jeez.
Oh no.
Kidding.
I knew he was gonna make a joke. Knew it.
It's perfect timing for it. But no, on it, there's so many trolls out there, like figuratively and literally, that I don't know. I can't imagine what you guys go through. I avoid Twitter for the most part, to be honest, unless Nick says, hey, like retweet this or look at this. I avoid Twitter because there's just too many people that just have no care for what anybody says and just try and rip them down every time you go on there.
Even then, when I tell him to retweet stuff, sometimes he still doesn't do it. So
it takes a couple hours.
a day, 2 days.
Sometimes I got other stuff to do at work.
Video games. Yeah, I know.
Hey, dude, it's cold. I'm losing my mind.
Anyways, I guess that'll do it for our kickoff segment, sponsored by Canada Kicking Academy. If you are looking for year-round professional development with elite competition, you need to train with the Canada Kicking Academy. Daniel and Gabe are both University of Guelph alumni, and they want to teach you everything they've learned over the years. Visit them at CanadaKickingAcademy.com and follow them on Instagram at Canada Kicking Academy. So let's move on to news from the sporting world this week, and there's actually a lot of news coming out of the sporting world. Some jerseys were released. There's been NBA and NHL talk. But let's start over in the EPL, and they have set a return date finally. I believe it's July 7th, or I'm totally...
June 17th.
June 17th. Sorry, I don't know what I was thinking, July 7th. June 17th as a return date. Big game's going to happen on the first day, right out of the gate. But there were some comments made by Watford captain Troy Deeney and Irfan. I'm going to let you take this one, if you're okay with that, because I know you were all for this. So why don't you tell everyone what the captain said, and then we'll discuss it a little bit.
Sure. So we all know the backstory with Deeney and a couple of EPL players not wanting to return to play soccer, to train because of COVID-19. And I know the boys and I, we've talked about this the last couple of weeks, that there's always going to be a potential for an asterisk for the next champion. And Troy Deeney came out and said that this year's going to be spoiled by the pandemic, and it's not going to be about the year that Liverpool Liverpool controlled the league, their first championship in 30 years. It's going to be that it was spoiled by the pandemic. No one's actually going to give them credit. So I think the reason why I brought this up was we know and we respect players that are going to sit off and say that they don't want to train, they don't want to play because of safety, and that's 100% correct. We know that Troy Deeney has a 5-month-old son with respiratory issues, so for him that's a safety concern. But I think with this comment, he summarized maybe the majority of people right now in the sense that they don't want Liverpool to win, and I thought that was tough because we've talked about how deserving Liverpool's been over the last couple of weeks, and as a captain and as a leader of the league, I would have assumed and would have hoped that he would have been a little bit more supportive, saying, you know what, put the pandemic on the side. It's about health first, and I think Liverpool throughout the year has been a better team. So that's just the reason I'm bringing that up is, as a captain and as a leader of your league and your team, a little bit more support would have been appreciated because, we're supporting him as fans with his health and the safety of his family.
It's funny, though, because the way I read the comments, I think is a little bit different from you. It's that he was saying that no matter what happens, people are going to put an asterisk beside it, right? He thinks, he said that he thought it was the year that Liverpool was going to run away with the title. Like, that's how he's thinking. But no one else is going to think that way, is what he's saying. So I don't think he's trying to rip on Liverpool's title at all. I think it just came down to...
I know, but he's just highlighting the asterisks that we've talked about over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah,
and
but we knew that was going to be...
As a captain of the league, I think he should have been a little bit more assertive with that, saying that, hey, like, this team is fantastic.
Yeah.
They deserve it. Like, it shouldn't just be about the virus, and I think that's what we're trying to get at, is that it shouldn't just be about the virus. That was just my perspective on it, and I know he's been a supporter of it. It's just the way that article was mixed up with the virus and the championship, it was muddled.
Fair enough. And, I mean, you read further on, like, I'm reading the Score article that you and me both read. If you read further down, he's actually being abused online and in public for standing up against the return to play, which baffles my mind. He's had people saying that they hope his 5-month-old son gets coronavirus. Like, that is...
These are probably the trolls that Haley and Jordan were talking about, the ones with the egg pictures and their names being George 0.555789.
Yeah, really? Having a social security number behind the name is basically what it is.
Yeah. Well, but the funny thing is, he said it wasn't just on Twitter. He was also getting people saying it in public to him. Like, I guess when he was doing the grocery run or whatever for his family, people are saying it to him in public. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't get how you could say that to somebody, that you wish their 5-month-old son who has had respiratory problems gets coronavirus. Like, what kind of people say that?
Bigots, assholes, idiots.
Yeah.
I mean, we can also. I know this week's been really rough when we talk about racism, but we can also say that this could be a race factor because. Targeted that way.
Yep. Yeah. It's tough. Haley, what do you think about Deeney's comments?
I mean, first of all, let's get one thing straight. I honestly don't think they really even need to return to play because nobody's catching up to Liverpool. Nobody's catching up to Liverpool.
Where were you 3 weeks ago when we had this conversation?
Why are you putting so much money, first of all, putting money back into this when you can't have fans in the stands to give you revenue? Yes, you can have your TV, merch, whatever, but you can't have fans in the stands to give you revenue. When you literally, how many points clear are they on the table? Like 22?
25. But they've played one more match than Man City, so 22.
Okay, but still, if Man City wins 22, nobody's catching up to them.
No.
What's the point of putting your players' health and safety at risk when it's that much of a blowout for Liverpool? Maybe in a different circumstance, if it was like a 2-point race, absolutely, I would understand that. But just give Liverpool their title and call it a day. I don't understand what's gonna happen. They already lost their Invincibles run.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm Arsenal fan, and I'm so happy that they lost. And it was like to Watford too. Like it was great.
Yeah, Watford, elite killers somehow. They always do that every year.
They always do that.
They always do it every year. It's usually against United, but
3-0 too. It was great. It wasn't even close, but
oh yeah, that was a bad game. But other than that, they've dominated everybody.
I just don't see why they even need a return when Liverpool's that far ahead. Like,
Right.
there's no way anyone else is even going to come close. And like, but is there going to be a Champions League? Is that what you're fighting for? Because I don't know, just put whoever's not Liverpool's going to lose in the first round anyway. So I've seen Arsenal do it many, many times when they finished fourth. So
Oh yeah.
I think the only thing with the Champions League is the fact that Man City's on a ban too. So now there's actually another spot that's opened up. I think that's one of the reasons that they do want to bring it back, is to try and solidify those spots.
Like, that's fair, and I understand that, but also other than the Premier League, like, really doesn't stand a chance in Champions League. Really, like, it's sad but true.
Right now,
other
yeah.
than, like, Liverpool, but
Right now, yeah, I agree.
I think it's disgusting that anyone values sports more than human lives. Like, you've seen the same with Blake Snell when he said that he didn't want to risk his life to play, especially for a reduced pay in the MLB, which is a whole other argument. But, like, the fact that people just see these people as, like, puppets, it's like, this is their job. And yeah, you can have the conversation that they make millions to do their job, and I get that, but they've trained their whole lives to do so. If I probably trained a bit harder, maybe I'd be in the NWSL right now, but I didn't do that, so I'm here. But like, it's kind of disgusting to me that people just see these people as like, you're my entertainment, so go back out there. It doesn't matter if you have a 5-month-old son with a compromised immune system. You're here for my entertainment. Like, are you the one writing his check at the end of the day? Because if not, you don't have a say.
Exactly. And if you actually look at the EPL's return right now, they've already had 12 positive cases in a week and a half.
Jesus.
12. 5 of them were from Watford.
I was gonna say, put that in perspective. The Bundesliga, who came back 2-3 weeks ago now.
5
Sure has
since the beginning of training. 5 weeks.
I say less than 10.
Yeah. They have. I think they only had 8 or something, right? It might have been 9. It's 8 or 9.
Yeah, they had less than the EPL so far.
The EPL has 12 in a week and a half.
Yeah, that's just not right.
What's
like,
the point?
No sport and no amount of money in the world is worth a human life.
If they're really worried about the Champions League spots, here's a grand idea. Are you ready? Take whatever teams are possibly in Champions League and Europa, add an extra team at the bottom just to make sure everyone has a fair shake. Do a preseason tournament.
Yeah.
Round robin preseason tournament. Everybody plays everybody once. Bob's your uncle. Top 3 teams go to Champions League. Next 2 go to Europa League. Everyone else sucks to suck. If that's really what your concern is, like, think logically. You can get around that. There's no need to bring everybody back to play 10 games.
Yeah, and honestly, it comes down to, like we talked about this before. It was whether they push it to next season and they make a whole bunch of money because everybody is so excited for it.
Yep.
Or they make as much money as they possibly can right now by bringing it back, having lucrative TV deals, because basically TV is going to go nuts because the viewership is just going to go skyrocketing.
Yeah.
Right? If you can't go to the game, you're going to watch it on TV.
Well, that's what the Bundesliga has done, because all of a sudden now every Bundesliga match is on Canadian television.
Yeah. Well, as soon as the EPL comes out, that'll be gone. So.
Yeah, but
no, honestly, it comes down to. I agree. There's nothing you can do. There's nothing more valuable than a life, but they don't care. It's simple as that.
Which
they
is
just
sick.
Don't care, and it's money. There's people that are, hey, I just want my sports back. Shut up, let it come back. And there's other people that are like, maybe we should, take maybe some more precautions and not take a chance, but because it's always you always run that factor, right? It's you let everybody go back, and all of a sudden there's a second pandemic, and here we are. And if people cause me to go back into quarantine, I'm going to lose my mind. So, even though I probably already did, but
you had a mind before. Wait a minute. Yeah.
But no, honestly, as we said before, right? It comes down to money, and it's one of those. They just want to make some money while they can, and they want to try and recoup some of the money they lost from this last 3 months.
Yep.
So
You're right.
which is it's unfortunate that's the truth, but that's just how it is.
But you're right. Like that's what it is. Like, Irfan.
No, we beat this to a pulp. Like it comes down to money. Like until they figure out lives are more important than money, then we'll see.
Jordan, you have anything you want to add?
How many games are left, by the way?
10.
Of the season?
Oh, yeah. I think it's like
9
10.
to 10.
Because how many final games is there? Because most people are 28 or 29.
Yeah, so about 9 to 10 games, depending on how many you have. I mean, Liverpool just needs to win 2 games. So if they do that and they return, then it's like, can we stop the league now? Because they actually...
There's a chance that Liverpool only needs to win 1.
Honestly, then it comes down to Champions League, right? That's what it comes down to. Because right now, Man City has a ban, so they're done. So it's Leicester, Chelsea, Man U, Wolves, and Sheffield, which I'm very surprised Sheffield's that high, to be honest.
They've played really well this year. They have a good system. They might not have top players, but they have a really good system.
They're all within 5 points.
Right.
Which means, honestly, as bad as it is to say, you basically have to finish that entire season to see how it plays out. Because 5 points is nothing.
I mean, you could probably put Leicester in. They're 5 points clear of Chelsea.
Yeah.
And then there's 4 teams within 5 points.
Well, that's what I mean. But like that third spot, you basically
third and fourth.
Third spot, third, but let alone third and fourth, but let alone the Europa ones, right?
Yeah. So either way, Jordan, sorry we cut you off there. Do you have anything you wanted to add?
Nope. I don't know anything about soccer in any way, to be totally honest, or anything you guys say. Yeah.
Fair enough. All right.
Trust me, I'm right there with you. I'm just trying to hang on with these guys and hold my own, do my research. So.
Yeah, I'm not even gonna get into that. We're not having that.
Soccer is not my sport.
It's the other football that's my sport.
Exactly. Yeah, that's more my sport. Yeah.
That's fair.
I prefer the full contact sports.
All right. Well, with that, let's move on to a full contact sport, NHL, and they've set a tentative return to play. Gary Bettman did, honestly, a very good job explaining everything on Sportsnet last week. I think anyone watching will say the same thing. He confused a lot of people with the draft rule, and a lot of people really didn't understand it. But if you actually break it down, it makes a lot of sense. Basically, if a team outside of the bottom 7 wins one of the top 3 draft positions, then they do a second draft for just that position with the 8 teams that get knocked out in the first playing round. That's all it is. It was very poorly explained on the actual broadcast, but it's very, very simple. The draft odds are exactly the same as they've been since we've had these odds for the bottom 14 teams, or I guess 15 now. Right? They're exactly the same. Nothing changes. So if the 3 spots are with the 7 teams that are out of the play-ins, they don't do a second round. That's it. They're done. Everyone else goes in the same order that they finish. If one of them goes to one of the teams that are in the play-in, then they do a second draft with just those 8 teams to figure out which one of them gets that spot, 1, 2, or 3. It's pretty simple. Very poorly explained on the broadcast, but...
Yeah, a lot of people were a little confused about that.
Yeah.
I love how Ottawa has 2 top 3 picks. I love it.
What are you cheering for, Irfan? You're a Boston fan.
Dude, yeah, but at least it's going to be competitive going to the games, and it won't just be walkovers.
Okay, fair enough.
That Carlson trade is looking terrible for the San Jose Sharks.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Well, and the other player that they got, the youngster, I can't remember his name, but he won AHL Rookie of the Year. Or not Rookie of the Year, AHL MVP.
Let's find out.
I saw it on Twitter. That's the only reason I know, but
I know they got Tierney. I can't remember the breakdown of the actual.
I think actually it was another draft pick, but whatever. Either way, Does anyone have any objections to what the NHL is doing? Everyone good with it? Like,
Oh, if you were listening closely to Bettman, he's like, I'm going to quote this. He said, "Let me assure you that the reason we are doing this is because of our fans have told us in overwhelming numbers that they want to complete the season if at all possible." So it's fan driven. Good job, guys.
woo.
Bet again. Let's go.
That's all you care about.
All your bookies.
Shut up, Nick. Yes.
Screw you, Kai.
I can't bet on virtual stuff anymore. Okay, like Jesus.
I get that. No, that's fair. Yeah, no, I'm all for it.
Somebody was talking when I was about to say something. I don't know who it was. But...
Jordan, she said, call your bookie.
Oh, yeah. Nah, I'm my own bookie. I keep myself accountable. Sometimes.
I was gonna say when. When you're up, do you keep yourself accountable? Is that the only time, or?
Hey, I'm responsible. Shut up.
I know you. In the grand scheme of things, you actually are. I'll give you credit for that. Another league that has set some start dates, kind of, is the NBA, and they said they won't be returning until at least July 31st, which makes sense. The thing that got me this week on the NBA is that they are going to make sure Zion plays in the playoffs. Allegedly, they're going to make sure that Zion plays in the playoffs. Now, Zion's team is currently 10th, and they're only 3.5 games back as of the break with about 20 games to go. So, I mean, it wasn't unrealistic for them to possibly have made the playoffs. Don't get me wrong. Like, that's not the issue. My issue is that if you include 10 teams from each division or each conference, that means the Charlotte Hornets, who are currently 7 games behind the Orlando Magic, also get into the playoffs. And that's if, but that's if they only go with 20. If they go with 24, the New York Knicks make the playoffs.
Oh, do you know how happy people in New York would be? Oh, that's money. Oh, that's money for them.
That's like, I just don't get. The West is competitive. All the teams in the top 12 are at least 4 points out of a playoff spot if it was only 8. Okay? I get that. Those 12 teams probably deserve a chance to continue to play. It's the East. The Knicks are 9.5 games behind for a playoff spot.
Did they finalize that it was going to be 20, what was it, 22 or 20?
I think they're still deciding.
It's 20, 22, or 24.
I saw there was 16 that go directly to the
Yeah, 16 was another option, but they haven't confirmed anything yet. They're having a conversation. I think you said, when would they having that conversation, Irfan?
Next Thursday, June 4th.
Thank you. See?
Wow, you're right on the ball.
This is why we have him around.
Dates.
Dates.
Yeah, he's the date guy.
I'm going to throw this out there. What do you guys think of them forcing the league to have Zion in the playoffs? Actually, you know what? Let's start with the guests. Haley, Jordan, you guys want to start this one off?
I don't understand why. First of all, he's like the new face of the league. Like, why is his like appearance in the playoff meaningful to basketball?
In a rookie year that he didn't play half the season? Yeah, I don't get it.
And like, think about like Kobe Bryant's last year, how ass the Lakers were. Like, they didn't make the playoffs, and Kobe Bryant's like one of the most iconic, I almost said baseball. Wow, it's too early. Basketball players there is. Like, I just because you don't make the playoffs doesn't mean you're not a good basketball player. You might play for a crappy team. But I just think that's absurd. Like, what's the point of working your booty off all season for a playoff spot if they're just like, you know what, this kid, we're just going to throw him in the playoffs just because he's a big name and he circulates hype. Like, it's so stupid to me.
Jordan?
Yeah, no, I don't know how to say this, but all I know is baseball.
Fair, but like imagine them but imagine like in baseball, for example, Mike Trout has played on the Angels for how many years? and he doesn't make the playoffs. But in his rookie year, they decided that, even though his team's out of the playoffs, they're going to expand the playoffs just to allow him play. Like, that's the equivalent right now.
Yeah, but no.
In a way, it's close, but yeah.
Okay, how would you explain it then?
It's more like the Angels were like a third wild card team, and they just expanded it to have an extra 2 wild cards on top of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just so Chuck can be in it.
That's exactly what I said.
You were more. First off, the Angels have never been even close to the wild card.
Okay, whatever. But yeah, that's the example that I'm using.
It's just, I don't even,
All right.
no comment.
It comes down to if they do an expanded playoffs, it comes down to money. Expanded playoffs
100%.
means there's more series, which means there's more matchups, which means there's more TV deals, which means there's more money.
It's just a way to create revenue for revenue lost. That's not right.
Yep.
And that's why they're even considering like a 24 team, because then they can have a playoff. They can have key matchups like a best of 3 series, a best of 5 series, whatever, which they can then extend over a period of time, which means that more time spent, which means people want more jerseys. Who knows? There might be teams that come out with playoff jerseys just for the hell of it. Like, honestly,
you're right.
They'll have a special patch on it saying 2020 playoffs or something, and then
You're
people are
right.
going to eat that up and buy it. And it could be the New York Knicks bring out a 2020 playoff jersey, even though they're 25 games. Yeah.
Holy hell.
Can we also take in that means the Bulls get a playoff spot too?
Yeah. But no, but could you imagine the New York Knicks upset the Milwaukee Bucks in the first round?
They wouldn't play in the first round.
Yeah, would it be 1 versus 12?
That wouldn't make sense because then there would only be 6 teams in the second round.
So what would they do? Top?
They'd probably do. They probably have. No, they probably have top 4. Yeah.
Does. If they go 24, probably.
So it'd be
along
it'd
those
probably be
lines.
Knicks Pacers.
Yeah, but still, frig. I'm not kidding. If the Knicks win even a game,
I honestly.
Hey, Canadian content, RJ Barrett in the playoffs, boys.
I would love the Knicks to beat the Sixers in the first round and just have Philadelphia fans lose their goddamn mind. That would be the greatest thing in the world.
Oh, that would be funny. I will admit to that. That would be hilarious.
Okay. So, if we want to talk baseball, then what do we think about basically players not wanting to take a pay cut?
They're right.
Pay the players.
Amen.
They're right because they've already taken a pay cut for the season.
Okay,
Yeah,
no,
Okay, yeah, no, they agreed to a prorated salary. The MLB's then coming back saying, well, that was on the condition that there was going to be fans in the stands. Like,
That's not what the condition was.
literally made an agreement. You came with a contract, and then just because you can't fulfill your side of it, you're like, well, let's renegotiate. And you're asking for more cuts from these players who already agreed to, what was it, 50%?
Yeah,
So
if they played
they're
if they played
gonna
50, if they played 82 games, which is
then they get
half the
50%
season
salary.
basically, then they'd get 50% of their contract.
Yeah.
Which makes sense. That's like I keep putting it to people to try to explain it. Like, if you have a full-time job, Kyle, you're perfect. You're the person that I'm going to go to for this. If you were asked to work half the days and work half the time, and they said you're going to take half of your salary is going to get cut because you're only working half the time, would that logically make sense to you?
Yes.
Okay. Then they came back and said you're still going to work half the time. You're still going to do half the work, but we're actually going to cut you even more because you're not in the office.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's what they're saying, basically.
And I find it funny that the only people that are actually speaking up are the people that would be potentially making $20 million or $10 million.
No, because
The people that have been speaking up have been.
No, because there's been minor leaguers saying stuff too. There's been guys who are just fringe. But the problem is that they don't get the same. No, but they don't get the same media coverage.
You know, the minor leaguers are cut. That's how it works. Right?
Yes, and
Yeah,
that's
and yes, it's not fair, but in the MLB's mind, they don't really care.
no. You're right.
Really all minor
They care about top prospects, and they care about their MLB players actually playing the season. That's really the only thing
Right.
they care about.
Jordan, you were
And
gonna say something.
If minor leaguers get cut, they get cut. Right? Obviously, you look at David Price, and he's helping out the Dodgers guys, and that's great. Even though he's never technically played a game for the Dodgers, which is
He's in the organization though, so it makes sense. It's
no, I know, but it's just it shows who he is as a person. It's really
absolutely.
They don't care about minor leaguers. They already said they were going to potentially, get rid of
42,
three single A teams or three single A divisions or whatever.
42 teams or something.
Where you have like the short season, long season, all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
They were going to get rid of that anyways, right? So there's people that are going to be cut from there. So now there's another, 20 to 40 people on that roster that are now going to be looking for a new job.
Yeah, no, I get that. I understand that. My thing was that minor leaguers and guys who are making less are saying stuff. The media coverage isn't there because they're not big names. You're going to hear people, you're going to see the media cover Blake Snell. You're going to see the media cover Mike Trout, although I don't think he's actually said anything. Like, big names, they're going to cover that. They're not going to cover Joe Schmo, who just made the majors last year and is making less than $1 million. They don't care.
First off, I want to see Prince Fielder being top of the salary charts. That's all it is.
Oh God.
Dude, I miss him going to catch a pop up and grabbing a nacho out of somebody's hands in the stands.
Yeah, that was fun.
That's
That
what
was
I miss
fun.
of baseball.
That was fun. Jordan, I know Kyle cut you off there. Did you have anything you wanted to add?
No, he nailed it. We're good.
All right. Irfan, did you want to add to this NBA/MLB conversation that has arisen?
No, I mean, Kyle's on the right track. The A's recently cut their minor league team, and I think, what did they say by the end of it, that they the total salary when they calculated was like less than $2 million in total. So good job, or something like that. Like it was like the small.
A's.
Yeah, the A's, like it was a super small amount, and they're like, yeah, good job, you saved.
You saved one player contract.
Yeah, like you barely saved anything, and like, so what was the point in cutting that? But
as it was just said, it's Moneyball. That's
no,
100% credit to Jordan for that.
Pardon?
You were the one who said Moneyball first. I'm giving you credit.
Absolutely.
What was I gonna say? Sorry, my alarm clock's going off in the back. But anyways, tomorrow the A's, that's what they're cutting off pay for these players.
Yeah.
Like, where was any heads up on any of that? Like, it's just, oh my God, it's nuts. I think it's in Kansas City though. They're not laying off anyone during the pandemic.
Yeah, there's a couple teams that have said that they won't lay anybody off, but
the Jays were one of them.
Twins as well. I think I just pulled it up. So yeah, it's the Twins, KC,
Yankees, I think.
Miami, San Diego, Seattle are paying through August.
The Reds through September.
The Reds are through September 7th. Houston.
There was one team that just came out and like extended it like more than everybody else. I can't remember who it was. Was it Miami?
No, the Reds are the ones who are through September 7th. They're the longest one right now. Houston is also paying stipends and benefits through August. So that's good. I don't know. It's a lot of little stuff. It's ironic that the Jays aren't even on this report.
Well, last year, I'm pretty sure, they raised the pay salary, over 50%, like with benefits for minor leaguers?
Yeah.
So.
The Jays have always been at the forefront of minor league players and care.
While we're also talking about this, the Red Sox are cutting the pay of its employees using a tiered system.
How very Red Sox-esque.
I just read that people are like losing their mind about that.
Yeah. How very Red Sox-esque. Mm-hmm. And the MLBPA and the MLB are having all these outlandish proposals going back and forth, and it's going to be fun. So whether or not we get baseball is really up for debate this year.
Honestly, at this point, I don't see it happening.
No.
Yeah, I don't see it happening, and honestly, it's a pandemic. I kind of don't even want it to come back. As much as I love baseball and every other sport, it's just like you guys said earlier, human lives is way more important than putting on a show.
Exactly. That's what it comes down to. These are human beings that we're talking about here. They're not just mannequins going out there. If it was mannequin sports, it's a little different. They're humans.
And realistically, any team that actually wins this year, as we said before, with especially with soccer too, it's gonna be the asterisk beside it, right? Because it's not gonna be a full 162 game season. Wasn't it Rivera that came out and said that, saying no team wants to be a champion if it's not a 162 game season?
I know someone came out. I can't remember who, but yes.
I think it was Rivera.
Yeah. It is what it is. This is the year of the pandemic, and there's going to be an asterisk on every single champion, no matter what the sport is. Not that there should be for some, like Liverpool, because they were going to win anyway. But I understand people saying that there's an asterisk on the NHL and the NBA because of such a long layoff and then going into playoffs. It's a totally different beast than any other year. It doesn't mean that whoever wins doesn't deserve it. They went through everything that everyone else went through. They came out on top and won the championship. It doesn't matter. But people are still going to see it that way.
The only time I think a team should have an asterisk is if their title's vacated. And then that's why there's an asterisk, because technically they won, but, then they did some illegal stuff. And
Houston.
Houston. Sorry. Houston.
Yeah. I mean, y'all said it, not me, but,
Oh, don't worry. We've said it multiple times on this show.
But even, obviously Nick would know this best about me, but, college sports are my everything. So
yes.
The amount of scandal in college where teams have an asterisk beside their names because they've had a title vacated is absurd.
Right.
But that's the only reason for me, I think, a team should have an asterisk. Even if your season is 10 games, if you win those 10 games, you win those 10 games. It doesn't mean that you're not the champion.
Exactly right. Nailed it on the head.
So the comments that Rivera made was a 60-game MLB season not enough for a real champion.
Yeah.
That's what he said.
And
that was back in March, which is sad that we're still talking.
But I mean, I get what he's saying. It's not. A lot of people are going to consider this a special champion. It's not going to be considered a normal championship, and that's fine. I get that. But at the same time, whoever wins should still be considered a champion. It's not like they don't deserve it. They still deserve to win. They went through the whole gauntlet. They did what they needed to do to raise the championship.
Yeah.
Anyways.
So say if there was a 60-game season, right?
Yeah.
And somehow the Jays make the playoffs, right? Because it's a 60-game season. They go on a run. Do you think they're actually going to be considered a champion if they win it?
Again, I don't think anyone is going to be considered in a lot of people's minds as a champion. I will consider whoever wins any of the sports a champion because I truly think that whoever goes through the playoff system and actually pulls it out in the end deserves the recognition of being the champion. That's my opinion.
Yeah, if you're going through a grind of 6 weeks, of course you deserve to come out on top and be called the champion.
Right, but again, that's our opinion. I understand where the other side comes from. I get it. It's not a full season. They don't think it's fair that someone's going to be raised a champion without going through 162 games. Fine. You're allowed to think that. That's fine. They should get the recognition of being a champion, though. Anyways, let's move on before I actually lose my mind. Let's get into something a little bit more fun. Jerseys. Because I love jerseys. And it's been an interesting week for jerseys. Atletico Ottawa released their new kit, and as I told Kyle and everybody on Twitter, it is exactly what we thought it was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
It is the 2014-15 Atletico Madrid home kit, just with a different color blue.
They are who they thought we were.
Wow.
We thought they were. There we go. I butchered that one.
Want to give that one another whirl, or?
No, I'll pass on that one.
But they're a clean kit. They have a nice big red sublimated maple leaf on the back where the numbers are going to be. But it's Atletico's 2014-15 home kit. That's what it is. It's exactly what we thought it was going to be. It falls under the good category in our good, bad, and ugly kit review for the CPL, but it's exactly what we thought it was going to be. There's no difference.
They're clean. That's what it is.
They're clean. They're classic. It's a nice look. couple other jerseys, and it's good that we have Haley on because the next two are actually one of her favorite jerseys and one of her favorite teams. The Kachina jerseys are going to be used by Arizona in the playoffs. I personally love these jerseys. I think it's a great idea.
I'm in the process of buying one right now.
Haley, what do you think about this?
No, I love them. I love them so much. I don't know why people hate them so much. Like they're like quintessential 90s, which is when they came out originally.
Yep.
And they're just like, that kind of vintage stuff is back in now. I love the look of them. I don't see what the problem with them is. Like the coyote's like some weird cartoon looking coyote, like with
abstract abstract looking coyote.
I don't know what that is, but like there's nothing wrong with it. It's not ugly. It's just not people's taste. And that's why people don't like it. Like there's some genuinely ugly jerseys. It's not ugly. People just don't like it because it's not that classic, just logo in the middle, your primary color, and then your secondary color on the sleeve.
Right.
Like, sorry, y'all don't know fashion.
Jordan, what are your thoughts? Did we lose her? We may have lost her. Okay, Irfan, what are your thoughts on the Kachina jersey?
I've never personally liked them, but I get the appeal. Like, I do think the coyote in the middle is really, really cool. Like, I like the design of that, but I'm not a huge fan of the colors. But I am basic, and I like my gold and black. Go figure. But no, I like the logo, but I'm not a fan of the colors.
That's fair. I don't know. I like the jersey. I think it's a great idea that they're bringing them back as the third jersey this year. And now that they're going to use them in the playoffs, I'm all for it. I'm going to watch every Arizona game if I can, depending on the timing. Because if it's at like midnight, I'm not doing that. It's a little bit too much effort for me. No, I think 9:30. Get it right. But I think it's a good idea, and I think it shows that they actually do listen to fans because they were well received when they brought them back. So it's nice that they're there. The other jersey I want to talk about is a leaked kit from the EPL for next year, and I laughed so hard when I saw this because it is hilarious. It is the Arsenal away kit for 2020-2021. And Haley, I know you're an Arsenal fan, and that's why the moment that I saw them, I sent you a message. What are your thoughts on your team's new kit?
Oh my god, they're bad for so many reasons. Like, so many reasons. First of all, I am very loyal to Nike. I think Nike makes the best kits in soccer especially, but along all sports. Like, I'm very loyal to Nike in that sense. So I'm not really a fan. I was never a fan of Puma, but then they were with Puma for so long that I just like had to give in and like start buying the jerseys.
Fair.
And then they got Adidas, and I was like, okay, we'll see what they can do. And I hate them. Like honestly, I got to give it to New Balance because like I like the Liverpool kits that they do. Like they do some okay ones. But I already am like not a fan of I don't know what it is. I know it's just a logo, but it's just something about the way Nike could design uniforms that like they do it so much better than everyone else. I don't know what it is. So that alone, I'm already like I don't like the Adidas. That's step one of my distaste. Second, it literally looks like a Halloween costume. Like it looks like you literally just like took a white shirt and put red paint splatter on it and said like, okay, I'm, a murder victim now. Also, like I said, for a country, and especially like London, that has been subject to so many terrorist attacks, like it seems very tasteful to just be like, and because that's kind of an underlying thing. That's the first thing I thought of when I saw that. I'm like, think of how many terrorist attacks have happened in London, and then you have a jersey that looks like blood splatter, and you're one of the main teams in London. Like, what is wrong with? How many people said yes to this? That's what goes through my head too. How many people have to sit on a board to approve that jersey and say, you know what, I think that's a good idea? Like,
well, let's ask Kyle. He works for a jersey company. How many people do you usually have to go through to get a jersey confirmed?
Well, for that, it'd probably be 2 people would have to sign off on.
Really? I thought it was more, even for the E.
Well, no, like final opinion would be 2 people, but you'd have probably a board of people of probably 10 to 15.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So like 15 people said yes, let's improve that. Like they've already had some bad jerseys in the past that I've let go. Like I really wasn't a fan of that. I own a jersey, shockingly, but I own the yellow and gray one, which I was like, I don't know what that color scheme was. It was like the Puma one. It's like the collared one.
I know which one you're talking about. I just can't believe you got that.
My dad bought it for me.
Oh, okay. That's different.
You trying to throw hands with Dave? Like,
No, I thought you bought it. I was like, why would you do that to yourself? If it's a present,
No,
that's different.
I actually kind of didn't mind too. They had those like weird teal ones.
Yeah.
Like I don't know who's making these color schemes. Like Arsenal's, my favorite jersey ever. You know this. My favorite jersey is the wine colored.
Yeah.
Wine and gold ones. I
The
had
Henry
an
one.
I still have it somewhere in my house. I was like 9 when I got it. That's my favorite jersey ever. I don't know how they ever strayed from that.
Yeah.
Obviously, the classic red and white is good, but yeah, it's just that. There's literally not one redeeming quality about it. Like, I don't understand why they thought, yes, let's do this. I'm hoping that it was a leak in the sense that like they leaked it so people will say don't do this, and they won't.
Yeah, I don't know. The site that I saw it on, they're pretty good with getting leaks right. So, and trust me, I've seen some horrendous United kits on there. So yeah. Kyle, can you tell everyone the picture that you saw beside the kit the first time you saw it this morning?
Oh, it was a picture of Dexter with it side by side, and Dexter covered in blood and the jersey beside it. It was kind of funny.
It makes me laugh. No, I think teams are trying to go really outlandish with jerseys, and I don't necessarily understand some of the choices. But then, like, you can get a really outlandish jersey that looks good. Like Kyle, when we did our favorite jersey conversation, your favorite soccer kit is what?
What did I say? I can't remember.
International team. You can do it. I believe in you.
Oh, the Nigeria kit.
Yeah.
From World Cup.
Right? That's an outlandish jersey. That is an out there jersey.
Those were dope though. Same with Korea's.
Yeah. They're different though, right? You can get some of those jerseys that look really, really good, that are outlandish, that are different. But then like big clubs like United, like Chelsea, like Arsenal, like Liverpool, as much as you want to have a unique jersey, you can do that with your third. Not your away kit.
I agree. Honestly, sometimes too, like very simple jerseys look the most clean. Like as much as there are rivals, the United States, like Nike, just like World Cup jerseys are like some of the most beautiful jerseys I've ever seen.
Right, I agree.
Literally royal blue and the crest, and I'm like, yes, this is everything.
100% agree. Like a clean kit is important. That's why, like when the Atletico Ottawa kit came out, it's a clean kit, but it looks good. Like there's a reason that they keep going back to the same design. It works. So it's just funny that you see all these guys doing this kind of stuff. But I don't know. That's my opinion. We've talked about jerseys a lot recently, so I'll leave it at that. Does anyone have any last comments on jerseys before we sign off?
One thing, I think if they got rid of the blood spatter, this jersey would actually look pretty good.
You mean white?
Just being white?
Yeah, like it'd just be simple white. Like, what? Hey, but like compared to the fact that it has blood on it and then goes simple white.
Yeah,
think
okay,
there's-
yes. If we're comparing
It
two.
just looks like a vampire bit someone and blood spattered out. Okay, I'm looking at it too much. I'm gonna.
A vampire bit somebody and blood splattered out. That's an interesting take on the jersey. I like it.
Irfan's got some resentment about Twilight being gone out of his life. So.
No, I was a vampire every year, man. I'm like sad.
Trust me,
I actually remember that too. Jordan, any comments? Did we lose?
Yeah, sorry, my Wi-Fi was acting up, I guess, because of the storm yesterday.
All good.
But yeah, no. Only comment I have with jerseys is I just bought a new Browns jersey, the ones they just released this year, and I love them.
You made the wrong decision. Remember, it was supposed to be the Powder Blue Jays. Powder Blue Jays.
Okay. When I get my next government money from Trudeau for my student benefit, then catch me buying it.
I figured you would. It's fine. They're nice jerseys.
I can't find my my size. All I can
Oh,
find
okay.
is like children's extra large, which I can fit into, but I don't really want to.
They're cheaper though.
Just don't buy
Yeah,
them
they
from
are pretty
China.
cheap. No.
Got to get the real one. All right.
I want that Atlanta baby blue Kovalchuk jersey. Oh, that looks disgusting.
Ooh. Yeah, that's a nice jersey.
All right, I sign off.
Well, we want to thank the Ball Girls podcast hosts for joining us, Jordan and Haley. We really appreciate you guys coming on. We have been supporters of the show since it started, and we're going to continue to support you guys as much as possible, and we're going to have you guys on as much as possible as well. So thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having
Thanks
us.
for having us.
As I said, anytime. Kyle, last comment?
I gotta go stretch out because I got a tea time in an hour and a half. So yeah.
Well then, Irfan, last comment.
Have a good week.
That's good. I like that. All right. Well, for everyone here at Garage of Sports, we appreciate you listening. Make sure you check out our website, garageofsports.com. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. We just released our interview with the Cavalry FC keeper duo, Nico Giantsopoulos and Marco Carducci. Make sure you watch that on YouTube or on our website. It's also on there. I forgot to put it on there. Keep looking for articles, and yeah, keep listening because we appreciate your support. So for everyone here, we will see you next time.